Welcome to Grawlix Nights, the Grawlix Podcast live show. I'm Randy.
I'm Melanie.
And I'm Jesse.
Hi. Saxophone!
So much saxophone.
Somebody's got to yell about it.
Please do.
What's going on, everybody? We're back. We're sorry.
Yeah, that was my bad. I was ill.
You were ill.
I mean, I kind of needed a nap too. So
yes,
it was my fault.
Savannah says the sax reminds me of Night Court for some reason.
And I agree, and I love Night Court. So I'm glad.
We must have talked about Night Court on the show at some point, right? Okay. It's here.
I'm sure.
It gave me one of the greatest horrible jump scares ever.
Night Court?
You're right. Yes.
Yes.
It was like a Halloween episode or something.
What did Bull do?
I'm pretty sure it was probably his head was on the table. There's that gag where it's like they put the head through the table and then lift up the thing. I think I was very young, and a thing happened on Night Court, and it scared the crap out of me, and I yelled about it. That is my main memory of Night Court.
Defense rests.
I loved Night Court. I watched it. That was my I'm being bad and staying up late to watch Night Court.
Your Night Court was my Quantum Leap.
Oh no, Quantum Leap has a special place in my heart. I was in love with Scott Bakula when I was 12, which is weird but true.
He's still an attractive man.
Mm-hmm. I like big noses too, so there you
go. And she cannot lie. Why isn't that a song?
I like big schnoz and I cannot lie.
Yeah. All right. So here's what's on the agenda. Not a lot of news. There is some news because we've got to have something.
Yeah.
Not a lot of news. But I've been watching quite a bit of things. So we have some what we've been watching stuff to talk about. And of course, the monster of the week. Maybe the most monstrous monster we've covered so far. Children.
Human children.
Human childs.
Sort of human, at least. They have to be at least baseline human.
So, yeah, that's what's happening. Creepy kids and what we've watched. And they're one and the same, actually. So, let me share this to my friends first. Share to my friends. Here, friends.
Yay, friends.
Now I need to
go ahead.
I didn't mean to cut you off. Now I need to share to the Grawlix podcast group at facebook.com/groups/Grawlix podcast, I think.
That sounds correct.
I think
and
so.
Sexy.
It's hot in there. You should go check it out.
It's getting hot in here.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite warm. It's quite warm in here.
Can I jump to the comments real quick?
Yes, please do.
And this is something that Savannah had warned me we were going to have to talk about in a minute. She said that she watched The Social Dilemma and tried to delete her Facebook account, but it did not work.
Ooh.
It didn't work. How? I was about to ask how is she going to watch Grawlix Nights every week if she deletes her Facebook account, but she can easily do so on twitch.tv/Grawlix podcast or youtube.com/Grawlix podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So
what social dilemma?
How did it not work? Like, you could delete your Facebook account, or it didn't work because now she's just there on it again. And I tried to delete it, but now I'm just going to argue with somebody.
that's the algorithm is too strong. I have the high ground, Anakin.
Well, I have to share on Twitter too still. So, first off, how are you guys doing? Melanie, do you want to talk about? Oh yeah, you already mentioned it. You were sick last week, but there's an important thing.
What?
You were sick and willing to go to the doctor.
Yes.
So I took you to the doctor because that it doesn't happen. Melanie doesn't go to the doctor. It's not a thing that happens.
But I was miserable.
When she's actually willing to go, I do it. I take her.
Because being coughing and things, I can tolerate. I'll do it probably the rest of my life. It's fine. But when it's something that like I really think is bad for my health, like seriously, like I'm gonna be dehydrated and it's gonna cause a problem, then I'm not unwilling to go to a doctor that I can't afford to save my life. You know, whatever.
That's big of you.
Thanks. Yeah, but so yeah, I have not watched. What is it called? The Social Dilemma? Yeah, I haven't watched The Social Dilemma, but it sounds interesting. And I do want to watch it, actually.
I mentioned to you guys off mic before we were starting that I was literally watching it right before Randy sent out the link, and it was already like giving me low-key anxiety. And also I was super pumped to see the guy that plays Connor, Angel's son on the hit TV series Angel.
Yeah.
He plays like what's the opposite? A malevolent like a exec, like so it's a documentary, but it's interspersed. It's like cut throughout with like little bits that are dramatized, where it's like, oh, here are some actual teenagers doing actual teenager things, and here is fictitious Facebook computer algorithms doing their thing.
Yeah.
And it's all him. It's all Connor. Only adult, like he's an adult now.
That's weird.
That's
what
weird. I don't know.
I can't recall seeing him in anything else. Not that I'm sure he's done lots. I don't watch everything on Earth, but
does it make you want to delete your Facebook account, Jesse?
It mostly makes me worry that Connor is still trying to bring on the apocalypse, even after his father just like did everything to ensure that does not happen. I mean, come on.
Okay. Connor was oddly like a good character to add to the show, but also just a horrible character. He was so annoying. He was perfect, right. Slightly evil, annoying child. Ties very well into the
he's kind of a creepy kid, wasn't he? Yeah, he's kind of a creepy kid.
And he grew up to like from baby to teenage in like 2 episodes. So
yeah,
impressive.
Can I just say to the audience, I have no idea what these guys are talking about. So
she doesn't know the goodness.
5 seasons of perfection.
Yeah, well, I'd say like 3 seasons.
Okay, you're right. Yeah. That first season was rough.
Right. Yeah, there's a season you deal with, but it gets better.
Yeah.
Connor was Angel's what's her name from Buffy, the sister. Only she wasn't as bad as Connor, and she wasn't evil. I can't remember her name offhand.
Oh, Dawn.
Connor was Angel's Dawn, where it's like, who's this freaking moody teen in my kind of teen TV drama?
Can I real quick again jump to the comments? Savannah didn't watch Buffy or Angel either, so she's a little clueless. Isn't it weird that the chicks in here didn't watch either of those shows that arguably are kind of chick shows? And all the guys did.
I mean, if the chicks in here are the ones that didn't, I don't think it's their chick shows.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess maybe. But you'd think...
Don't assume my gender, by the way.
Teenage girls. A teenage girl show, or like, a show starring teenage girls should be a chick show.
It sounds like it's made for teenage boys. Angel, I think, maybe was made for ladies.
Really?
That might be who.
I don't know why, because Angel is not attractive to me at all.
Well, I would agree he is not attractive to me either, and I don't really care for his character. But the ladies liked a lot of the ladies I knew at that time enjoyed some Angel. I
didn't find him attractive. I didn't watch his show. I didn't like him as a character on Buffy for the bit that I did watch Buffy. So there you go.
I didn't either, but that's like why it's such a magical thing. It's like you made a show out of the character I hate, and I love it. How did you do that?
They They made a show out of the literal 3 characters I hated most from Buffy, and it's still amazing. So
there's zero reason this show should work.
Right.
Yeah.
And if it didn't get beyond that first season, I don't think I'd say it didn't work. But
right.
Listen, what are we talking about this for? Let's move on.
Okay.
We're gonna lose our audience.
Okay.
Who, strangely enough, apparently doesn't watch Angel or Buffy.
Nope.
But Angel had the hot ladies. Yeah, Cordelia, I guess.
Which was the worst.
No,
she was the worst on Buffy, but everybody that came over got better. Like Cordy got better, Wesley got better. Everybody got better.
Okay, I'll accept it then.
Oh, Jenna. So okay, Jenna says she watched Buffy just a few years ago for the first time. She binged all seasons back to back. And it's one of her favorite shows now. She's purchased the next season that came out in comics. Haven't watched Angel yet. You should. You really should. I didn't watch Angel till whenever. Listen to the podcast. You could probably hear when I started watching it. A couple of years ago. I never watched it back in the day because I hated Angel. But I did a big rewatch and finishing of the Buffy TV series. And after that, I was like, I want more Buffy. Maybe I'll try Angel. And I'm glad I did, because if you get through that first season, it is a great show.
I actually did it backwards. Like we were making, I mean, I'm sure we've told this story before, but we were making fun of my sister-in-law for watching Angel. Like she was always watching it when we came over. We were like, this is a dumb show. What a dumb show. And then we found ourselves like, this dumb show is kind of good.
Yeah.
We're watching this show now. And then we were like, man, we need more Angel. We better go back and watch Buffy.
You know, now that I think about it, I have to apologize because I've been the same way about a lot of stupid shows like Archer, which I don't know, it got bad and we stopped, and maybe it got better. But in the beginning, I was like, this is going to be crap. But it wasn't that bad. It was actually pretty interesting. And then it did kind of get bad. But I'm just saying, maybe I need to stop being so judgmental and give it a chance, I guess.
Oh no, Randy hated something. Stop the presses. Are we talking about something I hate?
Randy hates a lot of stuff. I don't know.
I think that's his point.
Oh.
But I don't hate Angel. Okay, no, I don't like the character of Angel. But prime number one reason I think Angel works for me, other than Fred. Fred is amazing. Once Fred comes
Fred is amazing.
That's not till the second season.
Lauren, I was hooked on Lauren right off the bat.
Lauren is great.
Boom.
Yeah. But Wesley, who is a ridiculous joke character,
he's awful.
comedic
He's the worst.
sidekick, terrible character in Buffy, comes into Angel the same way and somehow becomes, it's like one of the best handled character arcs in a TV show. Like, just becomes awesome.
Maybe this is why I don't like it, because I don't know who any of the 3 characters you just named. I do not know one of them. So, but let's move on. Let's get past how great and wonderful Buffy is.
Since I don't have a lot of news, we want to jump into the creepy kid stuff first, and then do what we watched, because there are several kind of newer things that are not necessarily creepy kid related that I could talk about, but we could do it. Basically, do you guys want to do that up front, or do you want to do creepy kid stuff first?
I'm okay with doing creepy kid stuff first, mostly because I did watch a lot of stuff and I didn't plan on talking about a lot of it extensively, but you know how we do. we tangent and rant, so it probably would be safer to do the topic first in this instance.
Who started last week or last episode?
You always start.
I don't always start.
You always start.
Okay, I feel like I should.
Was it me? Because I had the hot Frankenstein or whatever.
It doesn't matter.
I'm sorry.
Savannah says my kids are creepy enough, so I didn't watch any creepy. I didn't.
That's fair.
Can I real quick add? My niece is pretty creepy because she wants to be creepy, and I love it. She asked me, like, is this a normal human thing? And I'm like, yeah, it is. Don't worry, it'll be okay.
Is
but
this a normal human
thing? She started yesterday. She's so cute. She started writing a book. There's only 3 pages so far, but she illustrated them also. And it's the Haunted Lunch Hour, about a school built on top of a graveyard where they didn't move the bodies. And now the lunchroom is haunted and all their food always floats around. And she's so adorable. Anyway, let's
There's got to be a law against building a school on a like a graveyard, right?
I hope so. Jeez.
I mean, we've got enough stuff to worry about. We can't deal with a haunted school. I mean, like,
I want to make some type of school joke with the poltergeist line. She moved the headstones.
Be like, Johnny, quit picking the ghost's nose.
All right. Well, hey, I'm gonna start. I'm starting. It's happening. Okay, creepy kid stuff. So I want to start because I feel like mine they're not a cheat, but they're like it ended up kind of skirting the edge. I'll push one off till what we watched, but the main one I watched is a movie called Dig 2 Graves, which is a great title. I love the title, but I hadn't planned on watching that. What I wanted to watch was Who Can Kill a Child, which is what is it like? It might be, I don't know, but it's a movie that takes place in Italy, France, I don't know, somewhere. And it's a movie from the 70s where the kids are like not zombies, but like they're just evil. Like the whole mass of kids are evil for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen it. I wanted to watch it. I've heard of it a few times. And that led me to sign up for a 7-day trial of Shudder because Google says it's on Shudder. And that was some hoops to jump through to get Shudder working for whatever reason. And I tried to find it and I was like, where is it? And I looked up Google again. It's like, it's right here. Play it on Shudder. So I clicked it and it opened the movie on Shudder, except it wouldn't play. I think it's like Netflix where occasionally you'll come across a listing where it's like, they have a listing for it, but they don't currently have the license, so you can't actually watch it. It's like that.
So they either just left Shudder or it's coming to Shudder.
Like it's still in the Google search listings, but like you can't actually watch it on Shudder, at least in the US.
Or maybe, I was gonna say, or maybe you just have to say you live in Argentina, and then and then you can.
So that's what I wanted to watch, and then also, honorable mention to like classics because my mom mentioned this in the Grawlix podcast Facebook group. The Omen, which is like one of like quintessential creepy kid movie.
Yeah. And also Paul in the comments, one of my favorite creepy kids, Pet Sematary. I haven't seen the remake, but the old one, that kid was fantastic.
I can't remember what the other one was. My mom said offhand, but
I think Pet Sematary was the other one. That's why I brought it up.
Oh, and I kind of wanted to watch The Good Son just because I remember really liking that back in the
Yeah,
day.
Ben brought that one up. Yeah.
Yeah, they're both. Yeah, both of those were exceptional child actors, I think, and that was a fantastic movie.
And Macaulay Culkin just got creepier as he got older.
He really did. He still can't grow facial hair really well.
Well, arguably, I think Elijah Wood kind of got creepier as he got older too. So
yeah, that's
but
true.
He leaned into horror movies, so at least he embraced it.
Yeah.
Macaulay Culkin leaned into weird, drugged out indie bands and cameos on people's YouTube channels.
And arguably, he was a creepy kid when he did Home Alone. So
that's true. I mean, if you guys listen, Home Alone is a horror movie. It's
it is. Yeah,
fun, happy family movie, but
and a Christmas movie, a horror Christmas.
So anyway, that all led me to my search to try to find this not really obscure, but kind of obscure creepy kid movie I'd never seen. Led me to Shudder. It wasn't actually there, and I was determined. I was like, well, I'm on here now, so let's see what they've got. And that led me to Dig 2 Graves, which it's a creepy kid movie, and that the main. Okay, so the overview on that is a girl's obsession with her brother's disappearance leads her on a nightmarish journey through a small town's gothic landscape where she is faced with a deadly proposition. The summary on Shudder made it sound like it might be more like the kids are creepy, and this does get creepy. She gets creepy, but most of the time it's a movie from like she's a kind of our main character, and that's not usually the creepy kid thing. But I enjoyed it. So it was produced it was shot in 2014, but didn't really get released to 2017. And apparently it's an indie movie. It was made for like under $1 million. Looks really good. It's got Ted is it Ted Levine? Ted Levine. He puts the lotion on his skin. That guy?
Yeah.
He was like the commissioner in Monk. And it's got him. He plays the guy's grandpa, and he's in it quite a bit. And he's like extra like mumble voice. I love listening to him. It's amazing to hear him like mumble out words in his voice, and it's intelligible, but like it's like I don't know, his voice is so strange.
That's how I knew him when I watched Monk. Really, I was like that voice is unmistakably Wild Bill. So
I would say it's pretty good. So basically this girl and her brother like are going down a swimming hole, and he jumps in and I guess drowns, but he just doesn't ever come back out. And the story ends up kind of revolving around forgive me for saying it, but gypsy people.
Romany.
Well, I realize gypsy is like it's a slur. But yeah, but like I don't want to get too far into spoilers.
So like a nomadic tribe.
As you get more into it, it's more of like this very foreign family, and bad things happen to them. But they also do this, I don't know how else to call it other than like voodoo type stuff. So the movie on the one hand is like ultimately plays these people as sympathetic, but also like because of bad things that happened, they're now doing voodoo things. And I'm like, I don't know if this movie's handling that sensitively or not. I feel like both. I feel like yes or no. Yes and no. I don't know. But in general, the tone of the movie is it's a little creepy. Something about it misses the mark. But it does have like, it's not extreme like Hereditary, but it is like Hereditary in that it's a horror movie and it has this horror movie plot, but it's also kind of about loss. So it's also real kind of somber, and it's not a hardcore downer, but it's got a very kind of melancholy tone. And I dug that. It looks great. It's well shot. It's a little on the slow side, and it doesn't build the tension in a way that I would necessarily like for a movie that's that kind of slow, because you can have a movie that nothing happens, but if it's building tension that whole time, I'm kind of into it. And this movie, stuff happens. It's just takes its time. There's not a lot of remark. It's not in your face. It's kind of low key. And I think a lot of people would maybe feel it's a little slow or forgettable because of that.
Would it be like exercising and traffic for an hour and a half before somebody shoots somebody kind of slow?
No, it's not that kind of slow.
Okay.
Like stuff is happening. It's just it's a combination of like being kind of that like melancholy tone, and then it's just it's not Jim Jarmusch slow.
Okay.
Is basically what you're getting at.
Yeah. I can't even remember the name of that movie. I can only remember I was like, I tried to watch it and I got to a point where I was like, no, I'm done. I can't take any more. I can't take any more of this waiting for something to happen. I can't do it.
But it's kind of cool. I don't know. It also touches on the whole thing of like nobody's good or evil. They're just everybody's just different shades of. Are they, I don't know, different shades. They're just everybody's different shades, and good, evil. Yeah, you just kind of do what you feel is right, I guess. And yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I really don't. I've drugged this on. I dug 2 graves about it. I drug this on probably longer than it needed to be. It's got a cool title. The climax and the different reveals is interesting enough. It feels a little cliche. Like it's a lot of elements you've seen before, but it's all put together in a nice package. It feels fresh enough. It's just low key enough where I think it might be kind of forgettable. That's it. I'm done talking about it. I think I give it 3.5 stars.
Okay.
How creepy is the creepy kid?
That's where I feel like this is a cheat. She's not that creepy most of it, because I was expecting. So what I thought going in is like, oh, her brother drowned. I assume he was about the same age, so they're kids. Also, it was interesting to watch a horror movie for adults where the main character that you're following is, I don't know how old the actress actually was, but she's 13. And you just don't see, not anymore, not since like maybe the 80s, you don't see like decent kind of like mature horror movies where the main character is a kid. Like kind of appreciated that. She gets creepy towards the end, and I think it still counts, especially if you're going to tie into killer kids, because, and I'll spoil this much about it. Like the whole thing is, these moonshiner boys, these 3 moonshiner men, who are the ones that do like the voodoo type stuff. For lack of a better term, I don't know what else to call it. They have weird magic tricks they could do that they call
Witchcraft.
Yeah, basically, and with snakes or something. And
snakecraft. That's the worst kind.
They propose to her like, we can bring your brother back if you take this one kid down there and push him over the edge. And you kill this kid. You kill this kid.
They're basically the origin of the good son.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So that's the thing. So I'd say it totally counts as creepy kid. She's not really that creepy. She's, most of the movie you're like, okay, well, what's she like? Obviously that's weird, but you're following her, so you're kind of sympathetic to her. Devil snakes. That's right. Savannah.
I like snakes.
Okay, it's
Devil's
worth a watch.
Reject snakes on a plane. That's a GCU waiting to happen. GCU waiting to happen. Snakes on a plane and Devil's Rejects.
I would have never put those together. Wow.
Nope, not until tonight. You're welcome, America.
To America. Wow. Okay, who's next?
I feel like I should follow that up because my movie is also kind of a cheat, and it also has a very slow build. In fact, when I told my cousin about this many moons ago, she was like, I had to quit because I was bored in the first 15 minutes. I was like, are you watching the same movie I was? Because this movie, while it is a cheat, is not a cheat because the kid is creepy, and it starts out with the creepy kid.
Okay.
So burying the lead, my movie is Let the Right One In, which is the one that I wanted to do for our Vampire Week, and I went with it for this one because originally I was going to go with Firestarter. I was going to go Drew Barrymore, and I was going to go Firestarter.
Oh man, that's a classic.
Dude, I love Firestarter and Let the Right One In. Both are great movies.
And I almost went with Let Me In, the American remake of it, and then I looked at the run times, and they're almost the same. And for my money, always Let the Right One In.
Yeah, so. It is the superior version.
Yeah, Let Me In it's not bad like a lot of American remakes of foreign horror movies are.
But it's still not as good.
But I think the original's way better. I think the production of it. I mean, it's very different, but I think the production of it's way better.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I mean, as far as like the art, man, just the cinematography of it alone is just, I mean, it's super creepy and desolate and lonely, and there's not a whole lot of like score. So, I mean, just some strange, interesting shots. A lot of shots where you're like peeking in through the window and that kind of thing. And I love it. I love a lot about this movie. So
one of the reasons I think that the cinematography works as well as it does in the foreign version rather than the American is because Russia, and no offense to Russia, but man, they have some of the most like desolate, like post-apocalyptic looking scenery in the world. It's crazy, and I love it. But you know, and more power to you, Russia. You're cool, but whatever. You know what I mean?
Welcome you to the States, comrades. I tried to mute her, and then she tried to mute her and ended up unmuting herself. Sorry.
There we go.
I tried to help you.
My brain's going rah rah Rasputin. Sorry. Let's move on.
So let the right one in.
So Let the Right One In is it was released in 2008. I really felt like this movie was older than that, but you know, it's also a foreign film. Actually, 2008 is probably when it was released in the United States. It was probably released in Europe a lot earlier than that. Directed by Thomas Alfredson. It's a Swedish horror movie. And it was written by John. No way I'm going to get that right. John Lindqvist. Yeah. So, anyways, the reason that I picked it for my creepy kid pick is that it opens on Oscar. Like if you know the whole crux of the film, it's about a vampire. But it really opens in on this Oscar kid, and he's super creepy right off the bat. Like he's standing in his bedroom in his tighty whities with a knife saying "squeal like a pig" as he stares blankly out of his window to the totally empty like courtyard outside of his apartment complex. And he's just like this shock of white hair. He's like the most Swedish Swede of all time, but he's just like this creepy kid in his tighty whities with a knife, just threatening an invisible person. And I was just like, I didn't get a Stephen King movie, but I got the most Stephen King vampire movie that Stephen King didn't make.
Yeah. Between our two main characters is the non-vampire and the vampire. The non-vampire kid that you're talking about is the creepiest of the two.
He's so much creepier than the vampire. I mean, except for when the vampire is actually being a vampire. The rest of the time, super like Ellie is super logical and just like, yeah, but I'm not a girl. Would you like me if I wasn't a girl? I'm not a girl.
Oh, that reminds me, that like kind of refreshed. Like, it's a really unusual and kind of unique take on vampires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't even know why I mean, I'm not a girl, but like she doesn't even know why she's a vampire. When she was a vampire, she's like, because Oscar's like, how old are you? And she's like 12, but I've been 12 for a really long time.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, I like vampire movies. I like creepy kid movies. And this one did both for me. And part of that is that thing that like kid vampires are like the worst. They're like, because, you know, most of the time I would assume they're children and they don't want to become vampires. But once they do, they're like, it's not just having to deal with being undead for the rest of your life. It's like, I'm trapped in this body that won't let me function correctly in society ever for, you know, my entire existence.
Right.
Because I'm too small and should be too stupid to take care of myself. You know?
Right. Yeah. It's an interesting angle to take. Somebody who looks like a child, so they can't, to the point where they can't access normal normal human things, normal adult things like go rent a place
Yeah.
to live or something.
Mhm.
They look like a kid, but they are completely like adult in their mind. So
I think that's part of the reason I really like Interview with the Vampire too, also, is because of Claudia in that. But that aspect of possible immortality and being stuck at a certain age, that fascinates me as far as like a subject.
this is a sidetrack momentarily, but I want to comment on Paul's comment. And I think what he meant to say is, you know what had a creepy kid? I Kill Giants.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she's creepy.
And is she there's no way she's not supposed to be. I don't know if she is supposed to be our hero.
She carries around like dead bird corpses and stuff in a
She
jar.
strikes me like the kid from Let the Right One In. Like that's the kind of kid she is in that.
Okay.
Like to be clear, Oscar was gonna kill a dude well before he ever found a vampire.
Right.
Like he was planning to. He's out there in the courtyard stabbing a tree, like for practice. When the vampire finds him and is like, "What are you doing?" And she's there, like not wearing a coat in the middle of the snow.
I want to dispute a little bit of that because as a child, I was a very sensitive child. And when I found a dead animal, it made me super sad. So I would bring dead animals home in shoeboxes and bury them in my backyard. It's a freaking graveyard, I swear. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm creepy and weird. That's just, I wanted them to have a proper burial so that they could be happy and go to heaven.
Yeah, but okay. But one, you're not Oscar stabbing a tree creepy.
That's
and
true.
Two, in I Kill Giants, it wasn't just like she'd find animal carcasses and then like just poke them with a stick and be like, "Hey, come check this out. Look." And guts coming out. Ew, look.
I did have a little journal I kept of like stuff like bugs and things like if you step on this kind of bug, this is what happens, which is gross. And I'm not saying I wasn't slightly weird as a child. I'm just saying it doesn't make me a crazy psychopath person that's gonna kill people. I'm just saying that.
That's what a crazy psychopath person that's gonna kill people would say.
Right.
Well, I haven't done it yet, so.
Have you ever told a tree to squeal like a pig?
No, never.
You may be okay. The jury's still out.
That's on all the psychological tests.
That's the test right there.
Yeah.
Have you told a tree to squeal like a pig?
No, I'm Jewish.
Oh, and to
that makes so they
it wouldn't be kosher. It wouldn't be kosher.
So
to stab a pig, man, that would not be cool.
To comment on Paul's comment also, you weren't making warding spells either. No, I did not. I never made any spells as a child. So there's that.
That's what a witch would tell you.
I'm not a witch.
Okay.
How about dizzy spells?
And I didn't make any spells as a kid. I didn't believe in spells. I believed in science. That's why I wrote stuff down. But anyway.
So I let the right one in.
I endorse that as well. I think that's a fantastic movie.
It is. It's good. Even the title's better than the American title. Why did they change it?
I don't know. Probably just to differentiate it on the IMDb page, maybe, I guess. The one thing like that's either better or worse, and I flip-flop on it, is the familiar, the handler. Like in Let the Right One In, that dude's just doing a job. Like you and Ellie have like no emotion for him whatsoever. And he's super creepy in that too. Like he's just efficient. Like that's one of the cinematography things. Like the first time we see him is in this like brightly lit, almost like a park kind of situation. And he's stringing some dude up and draining him. Like he's all in plastic and stuff. And he's just like, he's got like his jugs out there and he just like taps people and just draining blood.
But I think that's part of what I prefer about the foreign version also is that because that's kind of part of the whole thing is you start as a child and you're kind of like in wonder and amazement at this awesome thing. But as an adult, you're tired of all the drudgery and you're like, this isn't any better than any other thing. And it's all just like the same mechanical crap until you die.
Gotta feed the never dying beast again.
Right.
Well, like in the American version, like you get this sense of some kind of affection, like, and so it's like maybe that's worse. Maybe you just shouldn't care, like,
Yeah.
And then Ellie connects with this kid a little bit better. I don't know why, but that's part of the crux of it.
Well, that's part of it too. In at least in the foreign version, is that I think she connects with them as children, but then over the decades, they're like, yeah, no, this isn't something special and magical. This is me doing a job for an undead child.
Yeah, spending my life serving essentially a monster. So yeah,
right. And I think the realization of that is part of why I prefer the foreign version to the American version.
Total aside, does anyone use WhatsApp? If you do, tell me how to make it not give you notifications even when your phone is on Do Not Disturb. That so annoys me.
Huh.
I have a client that uses it, so that's like the only thing I use it for. And they are on the other side of the world, so they will often send me notifications late. And if I was a normal person and slept during those hours, it'd be really nice to be able to turn off those notifications.
Well, I think it's your fault for having such an awesome notification sound. So
it's just like default.
It's like,
oh no, it's not default. That's the Metal Gear Solid alert sound.
Yeah, that's an exclamation sound.
To me, it's default at this point. Don't all phones have the Metal Gear Solid sound?
Yeah. I'm sorry, Jesse, though. Do you have more to add?
I mean, we could spend an entire episode on this movie, but really just Oscar's creepy. Like throughout, when he's happy, he's creepy. Like when he's in the pool and just swimming around and having a good time and has this ridiculous look on his face, I'm just like, how are you more creepy when you're happy? I don't understand.
Yeah,
true creepy child.
Yeah.
Super creepy.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
As I got into it more and more, I was like, yeah, this has got to be it. And guys, you can watch it right now on Hulu because that's how I did. I own it, but I was like, it's on Hulu. I'm just gonna push play.
Yeah.
Melanie.
Yes.
What did you watch?
Okay. Well, first I want to say I wanted to watch Cooties.
Right.
And I checked Netflix because it said it was on Netflix, but it is only on Netflix if you do not live in America. And I don't know how to live in Argentina. So I didn't watch Cooties. I watched Little Evil, which is actually kind of not exactly, I mean, it is a creepy kid movie, but it's not the kind of creepy kid movie that I really meant when I suggested the topic, because I love, like, Pet Sematary and The Omen and things like that. I love actual creepy kids. They're creepier to me than a demon or any other scary creature. Like a child that you're supposed to care and love and care for, and love and raise, being something that you fear is so intriguing to me. And they're creepier to me than most other scary things. And maybe it's because I'm a woman and we all have this like internal, biological clock that's like, have a baby. But I'm like, but what if they're evil and they try to murder everyone? But anyway, it's something I literally have thought about before, which is weird, but it's true. So I wanted to look into that, but I departed from it slightly and went to the movie Little Evil, which is on Netflix, and the main reason I picked it is because it's easy to access. And this is a comedy. It is written and directed by Eli Craig. Stars, Evangeline Lilly, Owen Atlas, and Adam Scott. The summary for it is: Gary, who just married Samantha, the woman of his dreams, discovers that her 6-year-old son may be the Antichrist. And spoilers, he is. It's a comedy. I would say it's at least on par with an Adam Sandler movie. Probably a little bit better, actually. But it's it's not the greatest movie I've ever seen, but it's funny. But I do like the idea of it, that this step father or whatever has a child that he's trying to connect with and love, but they are in fact evil incarnate, and in the movie even do cause people to murder themselves. I think there's a scene where he's in school and getting chastised by like the principal, and he's like, I don't know, go whatever yourself, and they go and actually kill themselves. And so, they are evil for sure. But the point of the movie is, I think, more that just because somebody's
evil,
or let's say bad. So just because somebody is bad and has, bad behavior doesn't mean that they're going to end up bad, because in the movie the stepdad is like, you don't have to be like your dad, whatever, and you can be a good kid. And so at the end, of course, it's a comedy, and so there's a happy ending where he rescues him and everything's kind of okay, at least. But I even though it's not the scary movie I prefer. And real quick, Jenna Brunner, yes, Brightburn. Although it wasn't as good as it could have been, I really loved the idea of it.
It was good. We just had higher expectations.
It sucked.
No,
we had such high.
Okay, it's not a bad movie. It's worse than a bad movie because it had so much potential. It was almost there, but it squandered what it could have been.
But the idea of it, man, the idea of it is so fantastic.
We're gonna talk.
So good.
I actually in the stuff in here shortly when we talk about what we've watched, I will reference Brightburn because we've been watching something that takes that kind of idea and does it better. And if there were to be a Brightburn sequel, they have to they have to learn from this other thing. Anyway, continue, Melanie.
My point being through the whole movie was it was decent for a comedy. It could have been better, but it played on a lot of fun things. They had a clown that started himself on fire in front of a group of children. That was fun to me.
I'm not a psychopath.
We're finding out so much.
I'm not a psychopath, but that's the kind of thing that I would want to see in a movie like this. Okay, my favorite part of The Omen, and I quote it all the time, which is ridiculous, but it's all for you, Damien. So this is kind of one of those moments for me. You
like horrific things happening in front of groups of children.
At a child's bequest, yes.
Only if one of the children, who happens to be the Antichrist, suggests it.
Then I love it, yes. But I mean, come on, tell me that's not one of the most emotional or impactful moments of the movie.
It is. That's horror. That's horror, baby.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That is the most maybe horror moment of the movie. And like I said, it's on par with at least Adam Sandler, but possibly better. It does have the guy that played Dale in Tucker and Dale versus Evil, which is one of the best movies of the comedy horror genre I've ever seen. If you haven't seen it, watch it. So there's that. But that is one of the most horror-like moments in the movie, which is a comedy again.
I'm adding potential future topics here.
Okay.
You mentioned Tucker and Dale, so
yeah.
I've got to add redneck, hillbilly, backwoods.
Or no, really, it should be comedy horror. Maybe we should check out a.
That's not really. I mean, that's a genre, but that's not really. But I was thinking about that, but it's not a monster.
That's true.
Rednecks.
Rednecks.
Yeah,
are definitely monsters. Yes,
that's true.
Monstrous.
That's why I say
Carol Baskins.
Backwoods horror.
Wait, is Carol Baskins the redneck or because
she's a monster?
Oh, okay.
She's her own genre.
Okay.
So I would give it 2.5 out of 3 or out of 5 stars. 2.5 out of 5 stars, and that's all I have to say about that.
Okay. Yeah, you were over here when you watched it. I was working. It sounded like there was funny stuff happening.
There was funny stuff, but like again, I said it was better, or at least on par with Adam Sandler. And I don't care what you say about Adam Sandler.
You laugh.
Bob Barker throwing down in a golf course is at least deserves a chuckle. Okay.
Adam Sandler is not synonymous with those movies anymore. Adam Sandler's name is synonymous with lazy vacation, lazy made to pay for my vacation movies now. Like that, because that's more than not, that's what he's cranked out.
I know, but I haven't watched anything since Billy Madison, so that's kind of what I have to judge it
by. So Paul said 2 honorable mentions: Brightburn, which Jenna also mentioned. She likes it. The Exorcist, yes, it's a classic.
Yep.
We might have to do Possessions or Possessed or something at some point. Ooh. I do also want to mention. At this point, I'm sorry, I can't remember who commented with it. Somebody mentioned I really like this idea because it gives me an excuse to rewatch the original Fright Night. Creepy Neighbors.
Ooh, yeah.
What would you call that as a monster?
Oh man,
it's
creepy, almost paranoia. I don't know, but usually in these movies they actually are bad. You know, like
right.
Huh.
That's fun though. The Burbs. You know, come on.
Yeah,
like that type of thing is fun. It's the paranoid, like the neighbor is up to. They're weird. They're up to something. What are they doing?
And they're like, no, you're crazy. They're wonderful. They're great, and then they wind up being like exactly what
Sexy Draculas.
Yeah.
Or weird mutant. What were they in the Burbs? They were kind of like mutant hillbillies or something. Like that's the go-to. I guess it'd be mutant backwoods people.
Was it Single White Female? Wasn't that a neighbor too? Like all sorts of it's like bizarre neighbors that just suddenly.
That was a roommate actually, but
yeah, you might be right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well let's talk a little bit about what we've been watching because I'm kind of itching to get into some of this, and I want to start with Savannah's been on Savannah is always recommending us stuff on Amazon, on Amazon Prime, stuff for us to watch, and she mentioned The Boys several times, and Melanie and I finally got around to starting The Boys, and we're caught up. So,
oh wow,
yeah,
we blew through season 1 super fast, and we're maybe an episode behind on season 2 now, but I feel like we're probably current because they're doing the weekly release thing or whatever, which is popular with streaming now.
Except for Netflix, which is smarter.
There's some shows they have done it with.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize that.
It's usually a show if they're trying to like when they were doing several like talk show types or like comedy talk show type shows. I'm struggling to think.
The Talking Dead or that kind of thing.
Talking Dead and that kind of thing, or like it's not like a daily show type thing, but where it's like kind of topical and it's usually a comedian. They've had a couple of those, and those are weekly for I think obvious reasons. But yeah, The Boys, which is, if you are not familiar with it, I feel like most people probably are. It's a Savannah had described it as if superheroes were in the real world, like in real kind of it's not, that's at this point, that's not a new premise, but
it's more corporate than Watchmen. Like you think of the Watchmen, this is like the Watchmen if the Watchmen had corporate sponsors.
Yeah, I feel like The Boys hits that premise way better. I'm not saying it's better than Watchmen. What I'm saying is it hits the premise of like if superheroes were in the real world way better than almost anything else I've watched anyway, for two reasons. The corporate thing, because it's like if Justice League was Disney.
Yes.
Where the superheroes spend most of their time doing interviews and promoting new movies and stuff like that, and doing press junkets or whatever they call them.
Mm-hmm.
And when they do fight crime, it's like it's like vetted crime scenarios somehow.
Ooh, I want to steer the pot. I want to steer the pot right now. Who's a better creepy kid? The Brightburn kid or Homelander?
Dude, that's my connection to.
That's the connection.
Because that is, I think, more so than the corporate thing. I think that is the area in which The Boys nails better superheroes in the real world than anything else, is because of just how feeble, like, it becomes evident that a normal human would actually be to a superpowered human. And Homelander, I don't know. I think all the characters are pretty well written. I think there's a lot of kind of tropes and cliches in the story itself, but then again, it's also a superhero story. But like, the characters are extremely well written, and Homelander is maybe not a super, like, he's no Thanos, right? He's not a super deep villain, but he is one of the scariest villains in any of these. And if they were to do a Brightburn sequel, because the problem with pulling this off in Brightburn is, like, they spend most of the movie establishing that he's got Superman-like powers, kind of, like new. If you had an established character like that, it would be Homelander. And Homelander is kind of terrifying to me because he has no sympathy for humans at all. He feels completely above them. At the same time, he's Homelander. He's very Make America Great Again. So he's got that kind of like weird bit of
mentality,
nationalism, like patriotism / nationalism. Yeah.
And I don't even necessarily think it's that. I think it's more the pride,
Oh, okay.
He doesn't even really give a crap about America. I think it's more, I can look good. I could, win an award or something. I could be super, even though I am super, but be extra super if I defeat terrorists or whatever.
Arguably, the more hypocritical nationalists in real life are the same. They don't, because when they're like, American values, they don't mean American values. They mean white, rights for white people. So like, Homelander's kind of the same way. And like, he doesn't really care about people, but it looks good. And he does seem kind of super racist. Anyway, the thing I'm really been trying to get to is, the main thing about it is he seems to be virtually unkillable, and you can't hide from him anywhere. And so the show does super well at conveying that thing of, if you get on their on a superhero's bad side, particularly Homelander, and it seems very easy to do so, you can't hide anywhere. And he can literally,
even if you're Wonder Woman,
he can literally, even their version of all the other superheroes are afraid of him, because he will laser beam you down in like that without thinking about it.
This is actually part of my beef with the show is, if I were, for example, Translucent Man from the show or Stargirl from the show, I would not assume that his power trumps mine. I would use my gifts against him. And I don't understand why everybody is so afraid of him. The supers, I should say. I understand why normal people are afraid of all of them, because it's ridiculous.
It's pretty clear in the first episode, like the first 20 minutes, you're like, oh God.
That was so surprising and jarring, by the way, in the first episode. It almost took me off of the show. I was like, it seemed mean.
It was mean.
But that was the point. That was the inciting incident for the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I think it's because they haven't spelled out what his power set is. They haven't explicitly say, and why would they? They haven't explicitly said he's weak to this. I don't think any of them know what he's weak to. I don't think most of the other superheroes' powers would be able to affect him.
Excuse me. I don't know. I just think if I had the power of the sun, maybe lasers kind of are small crap compared to the sun. That's my feeling, and that's why I don't understand some of the characters' reluctance to fight back.
I don't think he has a weakness that they know of. And if he's a somewhat accurate Superman analog, like if they're basically lifting Superman's power set, only taking the kryptonite aspect away because he's not from Krypton, the sun doesn't mean anything to him.
Right.
It just makes him stronger, yeah.
But not if he's not from Krypton, because the two go hand in hand. The reason he's
but here's
is because he's an alien from a red planet. So the sun shouldn't matter. But my point is, if her power is the sun, a laser is not going to ever be hotter than the sun. It won't hurt her.
No,
that's my point.
But now you're assuming that she is invulnerable to lasers. Like,
no, I'm assuming she's invulnerable to heat because she encompasses the power of a star, which is much harder than a laser. Science.
You get so hung up on this stuff.
I know, I'm sorry.
For stuff that they haven't established. And I would assume if other characters, when he threatens them with a laser beam and they act scared, they know that laser beam will probably murder them. I'm just going by context clues and piecing it together. But you get very hung up on certain things. It's like, well, they've never established that.
Okay. Well, I just think not fighting back because you're scared of irrational things is a downfall, and that's all.
I feel like we've spent way too much time on that talking point.
Okay, let's go.
It's good. I'm enjoying it. Homelander does seem scary because, as far as I know, he seems invincible, and you cannot hide from him. I mean, you kind of can.
And the only one who can control him is Elizabeth Shue. Sort of.
Yeah, let's not say anything. Let's not say anything, Melanie. Spoilers. Right. Yes. She's the only one that can control him. Imagine if she couldn't. I guess. Imagine if she couldn't.
I'm sorry, real quick. To Maddie Downs, the only one that shouldn't be afraid of lasers would be Mirror Man, which is kind of why I mentioned Translucent Man, because he's made of diamond skin. But let's move on from that also.
Homelander's also the type of creepy dude that like would just sit up in the air and watch you for 24 hours until you fell asleep, and then he'd come in and wake you up and be like, like,
yeah.
So right. Like you never get a chance to like let your guard down.
Homelander is the like superhero equivalent of a stalker.
Yeah. No, it's I like the show. I like the character writing. It's got so many unlikable characters.
Oh, yeah.
And the show does actively make me angry, but it's not like it make me angry in a watching Arrow season 3 or whatever way where I'm like, this is so bad. It's angry in that like, this is so wrong. Why can't but like
righteous indignation.
Right. It's like, this is so wrong, but there's literally nothing these characters can do about it. And that's very frustrating, but man, it's well handled. And the fact that it conveys that. Except sometimes I do just want characters just punch that discount Wolverine in the face. Not Papa Claw. I'm talking the guy that looks like a discount Wolverine. the human. Oh. What's his name? The not Hugh Jackman.
Carl Urban.
Face. Judge Dredd. Punch Judge Dredd in the face.
Permanent dread lip.
If he doesn't have the dread mask on and the dread lip, I don't want it. No, he's fine. He's good in it.
I was to say he was pretty good in the stuff I saw, but
no, he's good. He's good. His character just gets so frustrating.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, that's what he does well.
Melanie.
Yeah.
What else have you watched?
Lots of stuff.
Kind of tense there. I'm sorry.
I watched Alive, which is popular on Netflix right now. and I forget which country it's from, but it's foreign. And it's about someone who is trapped in an apartment building during a zombie apocalypse, basically, and has to, survive through that. And I like zombies movies in general, but I love ones set in super urban settings where it's like, I'm in an apartment building surrounded by 12 other apartment buildings, and all of these apartments are full of zombies. What can I do? I love scenarios like that. So it was pretty good. Not the best zombie movie I've ever seen, but it was okay. So
is that the one that's kind of like a sequel? Sorry. Maybe not. I'm sorry, keep talking.
Okay. Real quick, I had Savannah watch I Am Not Okay With This. She commented, and yes, I did, and I think she liked it. I'm not sure, but I recommend that if you haven't watched that.
And you want to be let down by a cliffhanger because that was a recent news story I don't think we got to. It's canceled.
Yeah.
It's canceled. It wasn't canceled, but apparently because of COVID, it's canceled.
Yeah, that sucks because that was a good show.
Good. Yeah.
Even if it's canceled, watch the first season. Okay. So in that, kind of feel, I watched Freaks, You're One of Us, which is also foreign, and it's okay. It's not great, but it's
Google Goggle. Wait, is it Google?
Google
yeah,
Gobble.
Google Gobble. That's what it is.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. It's got an interesting premise. It's another one of those shows that makes you feel like regular people should not have superpowers because it could go very, very wrong. Not that all of the characters in there do, but there's definitely one that goes a little, like power crazy and is just like, I'm invincible kind of a thing. When they should have been a good guy, they end up being the villain because of that, So that's something maybe you might be interested in if you like superhero stuff. I also watched My Octopus Teacher, which
What is that?
It's a documentary about a photographer or cinematographer, maybe both, that was kind of getting fed up with his profession and possibly just kind of the struggle of life in general, and decided to move to his birthplace and then start exploring the sea. And he met an octopus, and he went, I think, every day of its life to visit it, and kind of documented the struggles of the octopus and the kind of the things that he learned from it and how it helped him interact better with people than he had previously, by understanding other alien type, whatever life forms. It helped him understand himself better. So it was really interesting. It might make you fall asleep because underwater documentaries kind of tend to do that, but if you can stay awake, it's an interesting watch.
If you want to go to sleep, watch it too.
Yeah, but for both, stay awake if you can. If not, it'll help you sleep.
Like Bob Ross, you'll either go to sleep or you'll be amazed, or maybe both.
Exactly. I love Bob Ross for both reasons.
Jesse, have you watched anything else?
Not a lot, but I did. Speaking of Netflix, they just put out a mini series of documentaries called High Score. Have you seen that? Yeah,
I've watched. I think two episodes of it so far.
Yeah, I just binged the whole thing, and it's
did you?
It's solid. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They go into the console war, and they go into all sorts of stuff. It's kind of interesting. Like the very first episode, they talk about the god awful ET Atari game, and so it's pretty good. I mean, some of this information is not new to people that have kind of followed video game culture or history, but like there was some new things in there that I never really paid too much attention to. Like they had some of the like the Nintendo contests, that kind of thing. And I guess Sega had their own version of that, which was on MTV or something. And so that was kind of cool because that filled in some gaps. Like I didn't know about any of that. So
yeah, I didn't know Mrs. Pac-Man came from basically was developed by a different group of people who were more or less maybe illegally modding the Pac-Man arcade machines so that people would keep playing them, and they made a business out of selling these mod chips to arcades to get more playtime worth of Pac-Man, and that led to them making Mrs. Pac-Man. I was like,
which is arguably a better game.
Right.
I was like,
yeah, it's pretty cool.
It's basically just a mod.
Yeah, there's some stuff in there that I didn't know. It's one of those. It's kind of like the toys that made us, or whatever it was, or the movies that made us. Where it's not quite. I feel like the presentation isn't quite as kind of goofy a little bit. Those strike me as a little goofy, but it's that same kind of like light-hearted documentary type thing. It's kind of fun. Yeah, I enjoyed what I watched of it.
Yeah.
Savannah says she's watched Capital on Netflix and it's good. I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
Sorry. Was there more? What you got?
No, that's basically all I've watched, really. That and like movies here and there. Like we watched Days of Thunder just cause 80s Tom Cruise movies. Why not?
Mellow Yellow, man.
Robert Duvall, Michael Rooker. Like, what's not to love about that movie?
That's like all I remember is that he drives the Mellow Yellow car. Why is that the thing that sticks with me? I haven't seen it since I was a kid, so
it holds up as much as anything from that era does.
Yeah,
like the acting is solid and the storytelling is kind of interesting, but like otherwise, it's like, well, it's basically Top Gun in a car.
Savannah digs
I'm the best.
I watched Addams Family recently, and it's just as good as the day I watched it.
Oh yeah.
First day I watched it.
Solid. No, I don't have surround sound, so I couldn't watch Days of Thunder with surround sound. But I bet that's great.
Maddie D says he's introducing Back to the Future to the kids, and they love it.
Good man.
And it holds up.
Yeah,
Back to the Future does hold up.
It does.
I mean, so does Gremlins. I made the kids watch that, and they all freaking loved it. The good ones always do hold up.
I mean, they're 80s, but they're like, and maybe it's because that it's a nostalgia thing. They're 80s in like a timeless way, where it doesn't feel like cheesy 80s. It feels like that's just the period. Well, except for Back to the Future, which is a bunch of time periods, so maybe that helps. Savannah says I watched True Romance last week. That's a good one.
That's a real good one. One of my faves.
I watched several things. I'm trying to think of what I've watched, because I watched a couple things with Melanie, and I'm trying to think of a couple things what I watched on my own. I've watched part of a documentary on Amazon about cult films. It's okay. I think it's like Cult Movie Freaks or Cult Film Freaks or something like that, and it's all right. It's not bad. It's kind of informative, but it's not. There are better horror or documentaries about horror movies, I think. But it's okay so far. And it's not just, I mean, it's cult film, so it's not just horror stuff, but that's kind of what I was looking for. Talking about weird kind of obscure genre stuff. But the main thing is how like how cult and weird genre movies are released at different periods of time. And then, grindhouse theaters that were basically old theaters around since the Depression that like at a certain point, like people are willing to come to the movies at like midnight, but we don't have anything to show. So we need movies. And so low budget indie werewolf bikers and stuff like that, that kind of stuff. Like that's when that stuff started getting pumped out and had a place to go. The theaters wanted to show it because they just needed something to fill the time. And then I think in the 80s and into the 90s, that became the 80s was VHS, and then going into the 90s, that became cable 24 when cable networks went 24 hours, and they didn't care what it was. They just needed, again, something to fill the time.
Right.
And then streaming happened, and then BitTorrents and torrents, and the last of the movie is a whole lot of indie filmmakers complaining about torrents. It's like, okay, sure, I get it.
Yeah.
They had Joe Bob. If anybody who knows who Joe Bob Briggs is, like, yay. They had Joe Bob on there talking about it, and he's like, torrents were bad. Downloading was terrible. Streaming is awesome, though. Streaming is great. So he's like, it seems like more people are like, streaming is more accessible now, so it's not that big of a deal. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. You can stream almost anything. You just got to pick one of the 6 big streaming networks or subscribe to all of them, apparently.
Right.
Spend $60 to $80 a week or a month on streaming services. Thank God we don't have to do that for cable anymore, right?
Or have half your friends subscribe.
Well, yeah. As for stuff that Melanie and I did watch together, let's talk about, because we won't argue about it, The Babysitter. Babysitter Killer Queen came out just recently. It's a sequel to The Babysitter, which we both watched a while back on Netflix and liked quite a bit. I didn't know it was something that was popular enough to warrant a sequel, so I'm glad people are into The Babysitter.
Babysitter reminds me a bit of Happy Death Day, but I will say the sequel is not even comparable. So
yeah, it is that, like, I think particularly the first Happy Death Day takes itself a bit more seriously than either of the Babysitter movies do, but it is that, like, very much popcorn fun horror. It's a fun horror movie. The Babysitter is a comedy horror, straight up. It's a comedy horror movie. The Babysitter Killer Queen, I mean, it's got sequelitis to the max. It's like, we're gonna do all the things that were funny in the first one. We're gonna do it again. Maybe even turn it up to 11, but it's still kind of lacking. It feels, it's not bad. Like, it's fun. It's dumb fun. It's almost, The Babysitter, I would say, is a good movie. I don't know that I would say this one, the sequel, is a good movie. It's kind of not.
Yeah,
But I would still maybe recommend it if you've already seen The Babysitter.
Agreed.
They're not real. None of the people in this could be mistaken for, they're cartoon characters.
Yeah.
And it's true with The Babysitter, but that maybe is the most evident thing in the sequel, is like every character you come across is like, who did you, Chang from Community? They're not a real person. They're not a real character. They just will they'll have random, like, what is a security guard or cop or something come over to take a report, and he'll just randomly be spouting stuff about his love life because humor, I guess. And it is funny, but it's like, there's just no sense of realism in these movies, especially this one.
Yes.
But it's still fun. However, my big beef, how are you going to have the Babysitter sequel and barely have the Babysitter there? And when you do have the Babysitter there, it's obvious that she was there for, like, I have 2 hours and I need to shoot this. Put a wig on me. And what are my lines? I don't need lines. And she just stands there. Like, something felt so off about her cameo. What's her name?
They may have as well have recorded that at the end of the last movie and then let her not show back up, because that's about as much effort as went into it.
Samara Weaving, who I liked. I kind of feel like she didn't necessarily make the first one, but I think the first one is better because of her. And she's not really in this one much. She just makes a couple, like, split-second appearances throughout and then shows up at the end. Slight spoilers, I guess.
I mean, that's in the trailer, though.
Right. But when she does show up at the end, I don't know, something just does seem off about her performance. Maybe she just wasn't digging the script, and I would kind of agree. Like, most of the movie's fine. It doesn't really require much. It was fine. It was wacky. They had a fight sequence where it literally then went video game mode and had the life bars of the two characters fighting up on the screen. It goes
that works on Scott Pilgrim. That doesn't work on everything else.
Yeah, I don't know that it worked here either.
Right.
But it's like, it does not take itself seriously, this movie. But what they did with her character, to me, it didn't really make sense. And I'm just totally 100% reading into this with no basis. I'm guessing it didn't really to her either, because she did not seem invested for the 4 minutes of screen time she had in this movie.
But maybe it's because her name is Samara and she never sleeps. So
yeah, creepy kids.
Yep.
She is great, by the way. She was in Ready or Not. She's like, I got Ready or Not money. Did that movie make money? I don't know, but she's got I got Ready or Not money. I don't need your money.
Yeah.
Let's see, Maddie D. They are archetypes, not people. They're not even archetypes, or they're all the same one. No, every female is the 35-year-old film nerd guy archetype, but in a
teenage
hot young chick package. But every time, even in the first one, any of the hot chicks start talking, it's like I hear the director. I don't hear a woman.
No, that's not entirely fair, because some of the hot chicks are really just stupid, vapid non-characters.
Oh, all the villains. Yeah.
Yeah, the main villains.
The main villain is 35-year-old film nerd. And the other characters, no, Maddie D's right there. They are archetypes and stereotypes.
Yeah.
But they're, face it, the dude without the shirt's the fun one. The other ones kind of suck. I guess the one guy, like the other guy, he's kind of fun. The other chicks I don't really care for because they are too typical. But the shirtless bro, he's pretty fun.
I think it's kind of obvious that they didn't have any chicks in on the writing, which it isn't always a bad thing, because there's men have written lots of things that I love, but the women in this are not real people.
No, but at least in this one, no one is real people. So I guess that's maybe
at least they're consistent.
Yeah. I mean, the main character is a teenage boy. It takes place in modern day, and he wears like a suit, the same suit throughout the whole movie. They're cartoon characters. It's purely style.
Corduroy suit, man, a corduroy suit,
right,
with a vest.
Sorry, we kind of spent a lot of time on that. Yeah. It's fun. Go watch The Babysitter. If you haven't seen, just watch the first one. It's so much fun. If you want more, wait a little bit to let that one soak in, and then watch the sequel. But it's not going to be quite as good.
Yeah, I'd rather you see a Happy Death Day and a sequel.
Did we talk about Happy Death Day?
I don't know if we talked about it since you watched it.
Okay, because I binged like both of them in one night, and I can't remember if we talked about it or if that would have been last week if we would have talked about it.
Do they blur together, binging them both in one night?
No. I mean, like they oddly, because they're so different, even though they're the same, but like they do a nice job of like just connecting. Like they do just feel like there was no time in between.
Yeah,
like, they just stopped one and started the next, and
right.
Yeah.
The second one changes.
Oh my God!
Changes tone.
We're not kidding.
So much.
It like everything. Like this is like right off the bat. You've got like a doppelganger, and like then you're in a different universe. I'm not even spoiling anything. That's like in the trailer for this movie, and I didn't even hear about this. I just was like, oh, they're making another one of those. How is that even possible? And man, I did not know. If I would have known, I should have watched this sooner, because yeah, it was. You were right. It was totally my kind of movie.
I thought so. The first one is like kind of fun, but mostly like, yeah, it's a slasher movie with a Groundhog Day premise.
Right.
It's not bad. The like kind of weird misdirect they do. It's not even really a misdirect, but the weird stuff with the killer like wasn't that great.
Right.
But the
It was
movie
all
was
right.
fun.
It was okay.
Fun enough. Right.
Yeah.
But
and then the
it's
second
mainly
one,
great because it's a stepping stone. Like, who knew
Yeah.
that it was going to create a great sequel?
yeah, the second one goes into like, it feels, maybe I'm not saying it's to the same level, but it feels like a Back to the Future, like or Weird Science, like an 80s adventure comedy almost. 80s sci-fi comedy.
Yeah.
It's got that kind of lighthearted tone a bit, but also, you know, there's stakes and stuff. I didn't care for the final scene, like the little stinger or whatever, the like how they left it kind of open for another one.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not where I would
was
want
weird.
to see
yeah,
it go.
that took it into like bizarre, almost superhero movie
Right.
territory. It was like,
Right.
nah, you didn't need that. Like, why? And I don't want to see that movie.
Right. I mean, I would like to see another one. It just maybe
sure.
not that. Whatever they were.
Yeah, no, one
there.
that was clever, not that. Whatever that was.
The one that
Like,
was clever.
This movie was clever. Whatever they were setting up there would not be.
They should make a sequel where they have a child that is odd from all the weird, like, double lives and time travel.
A creepy kid who can see
Exactly.
the same day over and over and over again in other universes.
Yep.
I just realized what I should have watched instead of Dig Two Graves. I could have watched the Doctor Dances and whatever the other part of that two-parter is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, are you my mummy? Yes, that's what I should have watched instead. Actually, I just watched it not
creepy
too
kid.
long ago. Gas mask, creepy kid in Doctor Who.
Oh, I forgot. Sorry, my niece maybe watched an anime called. I've only watched 3 episodes so far, but it's called The Promised Neverland. And it's a typical type of anime where it's like a group of young people. I think the main characters are like 11 or 12. And they're, inspiring. They like work their hardest to overcome some adversary or problem or whatever. But the thing is, the situation that they're in is so twisted. I freaking love it. It kind of reminds me of Dead Man Neverland, but not exactly. And I love, if you haven't seen that, there's only 1 season. There really should be more. That's one of my favorite animes possibly ever, but it's fantastic. This kind of reminds me of that. It's really good. And like I said, I'm only 3 episodes in, but it's really good. And it's the opposite maybe of a creepy kid movie. It's like these kids in a horribly creepy situation, which is insane. Kind of having to be super smart, and like, again, it's kind of an anime trope. Like, they're super smart and super talented and super determined, and have to use that to fight against this world that is completely against them. But it's really good, and I like it so far.
I mean, one could say that if there weren't creepy kids, we wouldn't even have anime, because isn't Akira just a creepy kid?
That is very, very.
Oh man, Akira. That's an out there pick, but that would have counted because I know it's sci-fi, but there's some weird monster stuff in that.
Yeah,
mutant, and that that's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, this has some demons or something in it, but whatever.
There's all sorts of crazy creepy kids in anime. Like, almost always there's like some kind of godchild that just presents as like, I'm just a child, but actually I'm moving the pieces behind the scenes.
Right.
In some astral plane.
Yeah.
The other thing I can think of off the top of my head that we watched is a movie we're not going to fight about. We watched I'm thinking about ending things.
I think it's just I'm thinking of ending. I'm thinking of ending things.
Right. It's the new movie on Netflix by Charlie Kaufman, who wrote Being John Malkovich, an adaptation, and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which is one of my favorite movies. And he also directed New York. What's that one, Melanie?
Schenectady.
New York. And Amelisse, which I have not seen. I think that's the only one of his movies I haven't seen.
I haven't seen 3. I've only seen, the first 2.
So if you're familiar with any of those, listener or viewer, you know. Yeah, it's Charlie Kaufman. It's very strange. It's based on a book, but if you've seen adaptation, you know he does not ever stick close to things that he adapts. I enjoyed it. I wrote a Letterboxd review, so I don't have to go too far into it. Kind of a short review on Letterboxd, but I will say this: up till the final 3 sequences of the movie, 5-star movie.
Huh.
Up to the last third, maybe. Sorry,
I'd even say less than third, but yeah,
it's a third.
I'd say less than third for me. I don't know. I guess it depends how long the interpretive dance sequence goes and that final song out of nowhere that he sings on the stage.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm sorry, that's not. I shouldn't even say that. I guess that's kind of spoilers, but it's not, because what does that tell you? The same thing it tells you while you're watching. Nothing. The movie gets to a point where it's like, yeah, okay, I like it. I like the ideas here. It's weird. It's kind of creepy. I got a satisfactory explanation of a certain thing that I was waiting for. Good. Movie's over. And then the interpretive dance sequence starts. And see, it just should have ended there.
My interpretation was much different. We're not fighting about it, but
I know.
The beginning was whatever.
Fine.
I already said we're not going to fight.
Yeah.
You just started talking.
The first third was okay. The middle part was better, was my favorite part, which kind of I thought was going to set the tone for the movie and was what I was looking forward to. And then the last third of the movie, which I include partially a scene that is almost entirely in a car ride, and is full of the most pretentious crap. And then the dance scene and the other end bit all killed the movie for me. I hated it.
Yeah, she hated it.
I hated it.
I feel like, so on Letterboxd, I ended up giving it 4 because most of the movie was 5-star movie for me. I think it was great. It wasn't, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of areas I wish it would have, so it's got an element of psychological horror for sure. And apparently I looked a little bit more into the book today, actually, to kind of see what the differences were. And the book kind of confirms a lot of things I was thinking about, thinking that this movie confirms a lot of my theories about this movie. And also goes for the book actually pushes further into horror. I feel like this, I wish it would have went harder into the horror aspect. It is surprisingly funny, which is weird, but because Charlie Kaufman's Charlie Kaufman, he played more on this theme of aging and inevitability of death, basically, and memories and identity and all that, because Charlie Kaufman writes about Charlie Kaufman. So I think it's pretty good. After the movie is over, I was like, maybe 3 stars, but because ignoring that last bit, I compromised to 4 stars. Nobody cares about my star rating, but I'm just explaining really good, really bad. You know what? I'll give it some recognition because I think it was really good up to a certain point.
Yeah, up to a certain point, but that point was not necessarily even halfway through the movie for me.
Maddie D cracks me up. So I don't understand Mel's interpretation. Can you do it again as interpretive dance?
Unfortunately, you can't see my interpretive dance. I've been doing it the entire episode. But
you know what? That's the most pure form of interpretive dance. The interpretive dance you don't see.
And this is the most meta episode we've ever done.
Yeah. There you go, Charlie Kaufman. I liked Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I liked being John Malkovich, even though it's a strange subject. I like it. Didn't see any of the rest. This was just a step below Lady in the Water for me.
Whoa!
That's how much I disliked this movie.
Oh man,
and that's what I'm trying to tell you, Randy. You didn't get that. That's how much I dislike this movie.
Oh, I got it when we were yelling at each other. Okay. I understand you hate this movie.
Yeah.
Welcome to M. Night Shyamalan Watch.
It's so funny. This would actually, this isn't even my least favorite Charlie Kaufman movie. Like,
are you serious? No. Lady in the Water is the worst movie I've ever seen. I want my life back for that hour and a half I spent on it. This, I want at least a half hour of my life back for this crap. That's how bad it was.
She's gonna go Harrison Ford on that. I just want my life back. Is that Harrison Ford? Seems like there's some old movie where he's like, or maybe Tommy Lee Jones. I just want my life. No, it had to be The Fugitive, right? Who was
Probably.
that? That was both of them were in that, but it was Harrison Ford.
Yeah, it was Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
She wants her time back.
Yes, I want at least a half hour of this movie back because it was entire BS that meant nothing.
Also, the M. Night is strong with this one because it villaged you.
Yeah, it did. Yeah,
I knew nothing about this going into it intentionally, but you've come across the trailer,
which is why I wanted to watch it.
And the trailer looks like a horror movie.
Yes, it does. It implies creepy, weird horror, which I'm all for. This was not that.
Maddie D says, "Oh, I think you have a new section for the show, Shyamalan Watch. We do mention him almost every episode."
Yeah, but there's nothing. There's nothing to watch with Shyamalan. Is the thing. There's just things to bitch about.
Get off my plane. Get off my TV. Man, I don't know. Like, it's definitely not perfect. It's flawed, but
it's way above flawed. This is if pretension took a crap on your head. That's what this is.
He comments on almost every medium of entertainment.
He does? Where does that happen?
Come across as pretty pretentious.
Yeah.
Every time you're watching it, you're like, God, this seems pretentious. That's when it's happening. There's interpretive dance. I did not like at one point, like one of the characters slips into another personality, but they're channeling a movie reviewer doing a review of some movie that I've actually never seen. And it did seem very pretentious at that point, and I didn't care for it. And I get if he wants to like comment on film, but like, I don't know, man. Netflix seems like it would be a good fit for somebody like Charlie Kaufman, though, because I feel like they wouldn't care. They'd be like, dude, whatever. But that's almost also kind of a dangerous thing to say to some creators, because
to some creators, and this is okay, maybe it's my beef with Charlie Kaufman, maybe it's him. Okay, because I really like what's his name from Twin Peaks?
David Lynch, yeah.
I love David Lynch. His weird is a good fit for me. This guy is a bad word to me, and he looks down on the rest of the world with his stuff stinks too much, and he obsesses about it, and he looks down on the rest of the world because of it. It's worse than being high and mighty. It's like low and mighty, but still better than you. I hate it.
Well, I feel like he probably wouldn't disagree with that. And that actually comes across because a lot of the main characters in his movie are Charlie Kaufman, including adaptation is literally Charlie Kaufman. So he wrote himself into his own movie, he wrote himself as the main character in like this second large movie. Anyway, yeah, we were talking about that. And the weird thing about that, and like him and David Lynch, to where the movies are very kind of nebulous at times, and it's odd. I like the David Lynch thing too better, but it's odd because Charlie Kaufman, like, even if he's not going to explain it to you, there's a reason for everything. Like, there's some, at least in his head, there's some reason for it. David Lynch fully admits, he's like, I don't know why, I just felt like this needed to be there. There's no reason for the weird stuff. So why is it the David Lynch weird stuff works better? And I would agree that it kind of does sometimes, but what?
No,
Maddie D.
it's because it doesn't. Oh, I'm sorry, real quick. It's because of that. Because this guy is so full of himself that he thinks every little thing is symbolic, and it's just not true.
Maddie D says, I have a mental picture of an art critic commenting on the fire extinguisher hanging in a gallery with way too much pretension just before a fire breaks out. Yeah,
I would agree with that.
If then a fire breaks out, that makes that whole scenario kind of interesting.
It's the irony.
Yeah.
It's the irony of it.
I don't know. I feel like Matt.
Except you can't use a fire extinguisher in an art gallery because you'll ruin all the paintings.
It's deeper than we even thought. This is layers upon layers.
I told you this is the most meta episode we've ever done.
Oh, it's layers upon layers.
Because you can't see Mel's interpretive dance.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. We probably spent way too much time on that.
Man.
If listen, I mean, I feel like even if you're not into it, there's a lot you could go on about it. But if you're into it, I feel like you could go. There's a lot to talk about with that movie. If you know Charlie Kaufman's other stuff and you dig it, I would recommend checking this out. I'm not, or it's another one of those titles where it's just I'm not okay with this or whatever. It's I'm
not okay with this. It's great.
I'm thinking of ending things.
Yeah.
Another thing like this, really, like, given the premise, should have been way more depressing. I mean, it's very somber movie, but it should have been way more depressing than it was. I mean, like, the concepts the movie hits on are things that really kind of bug me. These, like, I guess maybe forever, but especially now that I'm getting older. But it just hits on the concepts without really making you feel it, and that's maybe a kind of another flaws. The characters either do not feel real because they are not portrayed realistically, or there's not enough to them to convey certain things.
Mm-hmm. I don't have those qualmy feelings about aging or dying or any of those things. I'm fine with it all. But man, this movie is. I would not recommend it. I would not recommend it at all. I would recommend the movie that I thought it was going to be.
I feel like you should read the book.
Trailer means wants it to be, not the movie that it ended up being.
That the author, the book, it was written by Ian Reed, Ian Reed, something like that. It came out in 2016, I think. And the book, it sounds like the movie you thought this was.
Yeah.
It is more of a psychological horror thriller, where this is a psychological Charlie Kaufman movie. Although it does confirm, if you're familiar with Kaufman, like, the premise is pretty easy to pick up pretty quick. It is very vague. Let's stop talking about this.
Yeah.
What's with dudes named Kaufman?
They are
weird, aren't they?
They're all weirdo.
They tend to be strange. It's interesting. Yeah. It's the Kaufman curse.
It's the Kaufman curse.
Okay. Oh, wait. There is one more thing. Sorry. Hold on. What do I need to do here?
Two more things.
Okay.
Possibly three.
Okay, that's a lot. Oh, you thought we forgot. It's the Snyder Watch. We might not have news. We will always have Snyder Watch. Zack Snyder's Justice League might be called Justice League Director's Cut.
Really?
That's
Wow.
the most nothing news that's been reported. We're like, oh, and the headline was like, the Snyder Cut's getting a new title.
Yeah, and the title is The Director's Cut.
Director's Cut. You mean as opposed to Snyder Cut?
So apparently there's a new poster for it with DC's. This fandom thing, I thought that was like a one-time event. This just keeps going, doesn't it? This is something they just keep doing. I mean, that's fine. It's cool enough, but like I keep hearing fandom news. I'm like, I thought that was like last month.
Well, you enter fandom and then 3 fandoms leave.
DC can't do nothing right.
Oh. We're going to cancel our streaming service, but we're going to have 5 fandoms.
Oh man, look at all these comic book characters. Fire the comic book staff. All right,
now let's create a streaming service for each show. Go.
Most of this, yeah, this is such a nothing story that like there's maybe 3 paragraphs, and that's stretching it. No, I correct. 5 sentences to this whole story, and it's all old news except for the one sentence about the Justice League Director's Cut poster. So, I mean, hey, listen, I get it. Like I said, there might not be news, but there's always Snyder Watch. You got to find something, and we found the same thing they did. Mm-hmm. However, it doesn't end there. Oh wait, no, that's the one that says Justice League Snyder Cut gets a new title. Hold on.
You put the same news twice. We're like, Snyder Watch tonight is just really the same article 3 times.
Zack Snyder's Justice League will have a new theme and score composed by Junkie XL. Listen to it here. Except not really, but that's what the article says. That was /film.com, but I feel like Collider might have broke the story first. Yeah. I wonder how much is this actually new, or is this the original score that got ditched when they switched over to and brought in Danny Elfman? But yeah, whatever. I mean, originally it was supposed to be Junkie XL, and they worked with Hans Zimmer on the Batman v Superman sound score, and but yeah, no, the new one's going to go with the Junkie XL score. So, that's something. Paul says WB fire shots at Ray Fisher. Yeah, I know we covered that a little bit, even though it's pretty gossipy. I mean, it's not. It's coming directly from.
Well, isn't Momoa like co-signing it now? Like,
from what I didn't look too deep into it because I don't really care, even though we've covered it a bunch. I mean, I care a little bit. Okay, I'm not a jerk. If somebody's wronged, I don't like that. But Ray Fisher, as you probably know, it was like Joss Whedon was a D-bag and treated me badly, and DC higher-ups are all D-bags and they treated me badly, and it's wrong. And DC or Warner Brothers, I should say, was like, we're going to look into it. We'll hire and we'll have somebody investigate this. And then they came back like the investigator said there's nothing wrong.
The investigator that we hired says we're great.
We're great. You're a jerk. And then Jason Momoa was like, I'm with Ray Fisher. They're jerks. I'm super like, I mean, I don't mean to be demeaning, like that's super simplifying it, but that's the gist of it.
Anytime anyone in any industry hires their own private investigator,
they're not. They are
an unbiased source. No,
exactly.
Well, it's like the whole thing of like every company's HR department, they're not there for human relations. They're there to protect the company.
Right.
They're not there for the employees. It's that type of thing. Exactly. Well, and that was the thing. Like Ray Fisher's like, well, You should have got an independent investigator. You should have hired some whatever. Maddie D says they should have hired Randy Newman to do the Justice League score. Superman, you got a friend in me.
You got a friend in me.
I was trying to think of some like parody. I can't think of anything. That's it for the Snyder Watch, by the way. I mean, that's really, I literally like I had no news, and then like 8:05 or so, I'm like, Google Zack Snyder news. All right, there we go. Snyder Watch, got to do it. Melanie, sound like you had more segments though.
Well, maybe what is next week's villain of the
the monster?
That's a good question.
Okay.
How do you follow up the creeping kid? The creepy kid.
So I really like creepy neighbors. And I think we should do that. But next week I'm gonna say zombies because my mom suggested it. And if your mom suggests you talk about something on your podcast, you talk about it on your podcast.
You do.
Plus, also suggested by my mom, it gives me an excuse to rewatch Shockwaves, which is amazing, and it's got Nazi zombies. So that's what I'm doing.
And might I just say, your mom is one of the sweetest moms I know, and I would do any horror thing she suggests anytime.
Savannah says creepy neighbors. Creepy neighbors will be the week after. We'll do zombies and then creepy neighbors.
I mean, you got to break up the creepy. You can't just be like creepy. Now we got a creepy zombie creepy. That's like a creepy sandwich with zombie parts in the middle.
Creepy Oreo.
It's not nearly as meta as this, but.
Ooh, and then that still leaves stuff like possession or demons for October, which then we can really get into some of the real Halloween classics.
Oh man, we didn't even talk about Trick or Treat. Like, is Sam technically a creepy kid?
Oh,
he's kind of a monster, but he's kind of portrayed as like a creepy kid.
I would accept it if somebody came tonight and was like, I watched this because of this. Oh, fine. But he does seem more like, because they call him the spirit of Halloween or something, right? So is that like a demon? He's definitely kind of a monster.
Right.
So I would accept him as a creepy kid, a demon,
a creepy monster. Technically, the Pet Cemetery Kid, I think, could qualify as a zombie.
Oh, right.
So, we've still got options open.
That's what's fun about, all of these. And that's kind of why I've been, for the most part, watching weird movies for each pick, because zombies.
Yeah.
At this point, there's a million zombie things.
Yeah.
But even when we did Frankenstein, we each came to the table with a very different Frankenstein. So it's kind of fun to take that theme and then try to find what's really out there version of that theme. Maddie D says, I thought he was a possessed doll.
That's Chucky.
Yeah.
Is he a creepy kid? Because he's like the shape of a kid, but he's not.
Yeah.
He's a serial killer. He's a fully grown dude.
Yeah.
In a doll's body.
That's shaped like a kid.
Yeah.
I think I would accept it since he looks like a kid.
That's a good question too. Are Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers creepy kids?
Especially in the reboot, Michael Myers is a creepy kid.
They both were creepy kids at one point.
I almost did Halloween.
They kind of grew up into creepy grown-ups, but they were creepy kids.
I almost did Halloween for that reason, but or I entertained the idea. Jason, that one's hard. If you did the first Friday the 13th, I wouldn't even question it, because Jason is in there as a kid. He's a big hulking murder zombie in all the others, though.
Right.
So. Another one is, and I almost fell back on this too, because we were watching a YouTube video about it not long ago, but Sleepaway Camp, I think even though it's a slasher, the main character, spoilers, who's also the slasher, she's, how old was she? I don't know. She's like 13, 14, 15-year-old girl or something. So that's a creepy kid, even though she's not that creepy throughout most of the movie.
Season 1 Stranger Things, 11 was a creepy kid.
Right.
Yeah. And they're quiet and unusual, that makes them creepy.
It does. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Oh, I forgot to pull up images of the movies we were talking about while we were talking about it. Sorry, I'm off my game tonight.
Everyone needed to see Oscar in his tidy whities.
Bigfoot. I didn't even see Matt's comment of Bigfoot. Bigfoot would be hard.
I bet there's more Bigfoot movies than we know, though.
I bet there is, especially if you search like Yeti or something.
Yeah.
The only one I know is Harry and
the Hendersons. We'd all just watch Harry and the Hendersons.
Would the snow beast be considered Bigfoot? Or is that more Yeti?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like
because snow beast is ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Well, I guess okay.
They found a snowmobile for a giant, basically.
Bigfoot, Yeti, Snow Beast. I think we dig when how do you spell it? Did you say it Wendigo or a Wendigo? Whatever that thing. I think all of those things are kind of the same creature anyway.
Kind of depends on the version of Wendigo you go with. Because if you think it's
the not human counterpart of it.
Okay. Yeah, Maddie D says Yeti, Sasquatch. Paul says Wendigo ? I'm assuming he meant that comment before we started talking about it. Because there's always that little bit of delay.
Mm-hmm.
Snyder Cut fanatics are already bashing Wonder Woman 84 because it's too colorful and doesn't fit into the Snyderverse. The Snyderverse is dead. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What happened to the Snyderverse? It critically bombed. I know
nobody would have cared about Justice League in the first place if Wonder Woman, the first one, did as well as it did. You know.
You know what? I think you're right. I think if Wonder Woman if the first Wonder Woman wasn't as decent as it was,
there wouldn't have been a Justice League.
Already moved on.
They would have trashed it. Yeah.
But if that would have been as good, and if what's his name? If Aquaman wasn't like the hottest man on the planet, if those two things weren't true.
Aquaman, yeah, I'm surprised. I'm still surprised they went through with Aquaman. They must have been into it already. And also, I think the fact that what's the one? Shazam. I think the fact that did so well was like, you know what?
Is that even the same universe? That's the same universe?
Technically.
Ish, yeah.
But I think that's the thing where DC was like, maybe we don't have to stick to this universe. Because Shazam feels like a standalone. It's got a completely different tone. It did well. It's almost like if you just stop worrying about universe building and just make a good product that people actually like.
Yeah.
They'll buy more of that type of product.
Right.
And then eventually you'll have a universe.
Well, even Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey, whatever.
Right.
Right. Infinitely better than what it was based on, or the first movie anyways.
But all those movies still make money. Like even the ones that that are critically,
especially when you're stupid enough to buy the extended cut.
We haven't done a story on it, and we need to end the show soon. But New Mutants came out, and I have not heard anything good about it.
I haven't either.
That's
that
unfortunate.
Makes me sad because I had high hopes for that.
Because to touch back on what Jenna had made a comment about Brightburn being, comics meeting horror. Yeah, I love that idea, which is why I think I'm so hard on. I was so hard on Brightburn is because I was so pumped for.
You were supposed to be the chosen one.
Yeah, exactly.
I have the high ground, Anakin.
Man, the idea of that was so.
And he's just down there. I hate you.
Yeah,
I hate you.
It's like Brightburn, please.
The people who made it, they've made other movies. They should know. If I don't have the budget, maybe I should wait. But whatever.
But New Mutants was originally touted as like X-Men horror movie, so I was kind of excited, but also like I was tempered because it was another Fox X-Men movie, and those only go one of two ways. They're only pretty good or really bad.
And they were willing to release it during a pandemic when nobody could go to the movies.
Right.
Well, and it was a Fox show released by Disney.
Yeah.
So that doesn't help it either. Because they didn't give a crap. They were
Anything
like,
they thought would make money, they're either holding on to or they're putting it on Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
And still charging you again.
Oh yeah, no, I think Disney was just they were dumping it. They were like,
we have this, it's done, we're putting it out. If we can make any money on it, just to
like, this was here when we moved in.
Right.
And it's taking up room. People keep mentioning it, asking.
It's a beer pong table. We don't even play beer pong.
Right.
We don't have paddles.
You put it on the curb. Put it on the curb. Put a sign on it. Let's sell it off. But it's raining. Just put it on the curb.
Just put it. It'll disappear. Someone will take it. Trust me.
I think it's more like the mirror in the living room because the guy who used to live here exercised all the time and liked to watch himself. And we just leave it there because it's a big, heavy mirror. We're not going to move that. Right, Randy?
Right. I have that mirror. Actually, I like them. I like it. I mean, I don't stand there and admire myself in it.
I hate it. I hate mirrors.
I know you hate it because you do stare at yourself every time you see yourself in there, you're like, I'm like, stop, just stop. Stop judging yourself. And if you can't, stop looking in the mirror.
Or at least do an interpretive dance.
I do that quite a bit. Okay.
If it bombed horribly, I don't think. I was gonna say it might be smart to release a flop now, because on the one hand, it doesn't do well. Be like, Corona,
right?
If it still makes some money back, be like, it made money despite Corona. So like, it's kind of like a win-win type thing. But haven't you watched Poltergeist 3? Mirrors are evil. Mirrors are such a trope. They could almost get their own monster of the week.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? Okay, I don't have friendly terms with mirrors in the first place, but my next door neighbor, I don't know if they still have it that way because I haven't been in their house since I was small, but when the old neighbors lived there, the entire living room, every wall was a mirror. That was the creepiest freaking room or house even that I've ever been in.
Every wall was a mirror?
Every wall in the living room is a mirror.
So was there like the reflections into infinity type thing?
Yes, through the whole living room. And I mean, maybe my opinion of it is it's shaded by the fact that we played Ouija and Bloody Mary in that room, but
that's like the worst place to do it.
I was going to ask if Bruce Lee is still chasing Mr. Han through that house.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I particularly enjoyed that one. That sounds awesome, but it is a room that I would need a door on, and it would be always closed unless I was in there, because that's the kind of thing, like, you walk by the doorway and out of the corner of your eye, there's just potentially reflections of weird things.
There was everything, and the dog kept freaking out randomly at stuff. Yeah, it was a bad time.
Paul says Corona pushed back Candyman, angry faces, or should I say Grawlix faces?
Yeah,
it's got the symbols across its mouth. Yeah, that's okay. I mean, that's a bummer, but at least they're not just like dropping it in the theater now to unload it. That's a good sign that they're not releasing it yet, unless it's like they were still filming it and it got pushed back. That does suck. All right. Melanie.
Yeah.
What should we be amazed about?
This week I'm going to go with researchers discover signs of life on Venus.
Oh yeah.
Which they weren't expecting. I think they were just playing around and focused their telescopes on Venus for whatever. They even said, they weren't really expecting to find anything. They didn't find life itself, but they found phosphine, which is usually the result of organic matter breaking down. And in the article, actually I've read like 3 different articles about it, but basically it would be, of course, be like microscopic life forms, not like intelligent life, or at least not what we consider intelligent life, that would only be able to survive in the cloud layer of the planet, but still that's enough, whatever. They just live their entire lives in the cloud layer. But I love this because part of the thing that I always had beef with scientists and the search for life is their weird obsession with life falling under certain criteria. Like, we need this kind of planet and this kind of zone and the Goldilocks zone and all this. And I'm like, but we have creatures that live off of, thermal vents in the bottom of the ocean at the deepest pressures. Who are we to say what life is or where it could exist? So I think we really limit our ability to see and acknowledge life in the universe by doing that. And so stuff like this makes me happy because I think it makes us realize that life could exist in places that we would never consider habitable for life forms, And so I love it. I love this bit of news.
Life almost like it finds a way.
Oh yeah, that's yeah.
Clever girl.
Oh man, what are the dates? What's happening? I don't think I have anything coming up anytime soon, really. So I don't have anything else to promote. We're glad to be back. We only took a week off. Remember when we did one episode a month?
Man.
And I would say they were extra long, but we've been going over 2 hours the last couple of weeks. So,
well, and you guys did like a Labor Day thing out of nowhere on the Patreon. So if you were just jonesing, if you were just jonesing for something, go to the Patreon.
I'm real curious on thoughts on that.
$1. You get all the extras. $1.
I feel like we need to do a follow-up on that. All right, so Jesse, you got anything to promote?
No, nothing that's coming to mind.
I will have
soon. Yeah, I'm excited about that. Be like, hey, Melanie's got a thing that we should tell you about. You should go check it out, but not yet.
Nope, not yet.
Ooh. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, checking it out, taking a listen, taking a watch. Remember, if we're on Facebook, we're not just audio content. We're friends and family.
That's right.
Yes,
right.
Family.
That's the news story we didn't cover, and we don't have time to get into it right now. But yeah,
Facebook's doing a weird thing. Friends and family.
Surprise, surprise.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like they all just go to the YouTube route eventually.
Yeah. YouTube? Who? YouTube? You?
No, we want Jimmy Fallon tube.
Me tube. Yeah.
All the time. Me tube. And it sounded too close to a Me Too. Like
Me too. Oh no.
I got Me Too'd by YouTube. That doesn't sound right. Hey everybody, take it easy. Have a great weekend. Thanks for listening. Grawlixpodcast.com. Check out more. Sometimes we're better than this. Sometimes we're worse. It's a grab bag.
It's a Shyamalan.
Mm-hmm.
We'll never go full Shyamalan on you though.
No.
But
if we do, it's a twist.
Might go slightly. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Good night.